Hi, this is X8 Anderson, and welcome to the Principal Podcast Thought for the Day. So, research out of Harvard has shown that the person who's talking the most is the one who's enjoying the conversation the most. That's probably why I'm having a great time, and some of you might not be having such a great time. But the same research also showed that the person who's most liked in a conversation is the one who's asking the most questions. So, how can we apply this to being a good dad? If you want to be liked, you want to have people be open to you, ask questions, let them talk more than you do. And, to exceed expectations in a meaningful way, people have really got to listen. Let me tell you what I mean. Sometimes when we listen, the results may not be what we expect. So women love flowers, right? I mean, this is kind of common knowledge. At least that's what I thought until I sent my wife flowers. And here's the response I get when I send my wife flowers. Thanks. Flowers aren't that meaningful to my wife. I mean, she likes them, but she doesn't really like them. Do you know what's meaningful to my wife? When I help out and do things around the house. If I want to get my wife excited, if I give her a foot rub or do the dishes, it drives her wild. And of course, taking the kids for a few days to give her a break also has been a home run with her. But to learn this, I had to really listen and to understand what was meaningful to my wife, not just what I thought was meaningful. And it's different for everyone. So, I mean, before I married my wife, I dated girls who absolutely love flowers and thought she would too, but she doesn't. And that's why I need to tailor my approach to her. Now, same thing with our children, with our wives, with our spouses. Here's the thing that's interesting. There was a study out of the University of Maryland that said that listening was shown to have a strong statistical correlation to job satisfaction. They may say, well, hey, you're talking about dads and parenting. How does that work? Well, I wonder if we were just to, let me continue for a second here. The correlation, this is where it gets really interesting, is that the correlation was really strong. In fact, it was nearly 3 times stronger than the correlation between pay and job satisfaction. Isn't that interesting? So in other words, consider that instilling a culture of listening in your family or in your business, it's possible that it might contribute to making people happier than trying to solve problems by throwing money at them. This is really important as dads. Sometimes dads, especially some dads who are not involved, they want to be to Disneyland and just go buy things or send things. But the ability to just listen could be much, much more effective at bringing, if you change the word job satisfaction with dad satisfaction. In fact, we kind of have a job as dads to lead and teach our children and provide and things like that. But listening could help that along right away. So if you want to make the people you work with or your teenager or your spouse happy, try really listening to them. And according to the research at Harvard, the person who's listening the most, the person who's talking the most is the one who's enjoying the conversation the most. The person who was liked the most was the one who was asking the most questions. So keep that in mind. It also showed, this is again a business study, but I think it could apply to our families. It said, out of the University of Chicago, it was shown that people are 12% more productive if they're happy and 10% less productive and happy if they're not happy. And so when we talked about job satisfaction, or we changed it to parent satisfaction, dad satisfaction, I wonder if there is a good correlation between that and listen. Here's one more. There was research out of the University of Richmond at Bethel College that showed that there's a strong statistical correlation between listening and leadership. Here's where it gets interesting. It suggested that leaders emerge as they listen. In other words, do you want to be a leader in your home as a dad? It doesn't come from barking orders. It doesn't come from telling people how it is. What it comes from is listening. Listening actually is correlated with having people follow you. So do you want people to follow you? Do you want your family to respect and want to follow you? Try listening. That's the thought for the day. Thanks for joining today on the Principal Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Principal Podcast today. Sign up for my newsletter specifically geared towards helping you be an awesome dad, an awesome parent. to be able to better lead, love, and influence your family and children at xsane.com/subscribe. That's xsane.com/subscribe. It's spelled EKSAYN.com/subscribe. This newsletter is going to give you tips about how to be a great dad with the links in the show notes. But whatever you do, remember that what you do in your own home will have more influence than anything else you do in the world. Thanks again for listening today.